You don't need to be addicted to have a problem with alcohol. There's a whole middle lane that loads of people live in, quietly struggling. And I'm going to share some of the most common traits and feelings that these middle lane drinkers experience. So stick with me, because if you relate to even a few of these, it might change the way you think about your drinking. It might help you understand it in a whole new way. More clarity, less shame. And if we haven't met, I'm Bridgene. I'm 5.5 years alcohol free, and I come on here and talk about things like this. So if that's for you, give me a follow. Let's get into it. The evening pull. Looking back, I would feel a pull, if you like, call it a twitch, probably from around late afternoon. And even though I'd promised myself that morning, I'm not going to drink tonight, I'd already be starting to think, oh, I'm feeling a little bit stressed, or I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Maybe tonight I'll just have a little glass of wine. By the time I'd got home, I'd justified it. I'd built the case around it, and I would be probably calling into a shop and getting a bottle of wine on the way home. Broken rules. Me, I made rules for myself all the time. I'm only going to drink at the weekends. I'm going to have one glass of wine. Not tonight. And I would break those rules, and then in the morning I would be annoyed with myself. I'd be disappointed with myself, of course. When I made those rules, I really meant them, but I'd negotiate with myself as the day wore on, and then by the evening I would break those rules and bend them. Functioning, but not fine. Like most people, I worked. I had a grown-up job, big girl job. I still do. I parented, I paid my bills, I got shit done. I saw my friends, I saw my family, I arranged stuff. On the surface, from the outside looking in, I had it all going on. I had my shit together. I was on it, yeah. But I wasn't, because on the inside, I was a mess. I was crumbling very, very slowly. I was anxious and I was struggling. But I put on a mask. Many people do. And we tell ourselves, well, I'm doing everything. I'm adulting, so there can't be a problem here. The morning dread. I used to wake up with what I can only describe as the morning dread. I would wake up with this heaviness in my heart, racing heart most days, a hollow, sicky type feeling, regretting that I drank the night before, mainly, hungover, thirsty, headaching, and anxiety. I would have this anxiety that would last all day. I'd carry it around with me. I just got on with life, but yeah, I was drudging through each day. So the morning dread was a very big part of my life. The thought of going without alcohol terrified me. I couldn't imagine what life would be like without alcohol in it. I genuinely couldn't wrap my head around what people that didn't drink did with their time, their evenings. I couldn't comprehend that at all. I'd never been a long period without drinking. I couldn't imagine it. The whole thought terrified me. I was very scared of the thought of being a teetotaler. No, I was one of those people that would say, oh, I don't trust anybody that doesn't drink. It just, sorry, but that was the way I was. And yet every single day towards the end of my drinking career, if you like, was a slog. It was really hard. And yet I was terrified of not drinking. Make it make sense. The loop, the patterns. It was always there. There was always a pattern there. Probably back in the, my 20s and 30s and early 40s, not so much, but, it would have been weekend drinking, and then that maybe turned into Thursday till Sunday drinking. And before I knew it was Wednesday till Sunday drinking. Not massively heavy, but there was always a pattern. Before I knew it, and ever so quietly, it sort of crept into this having a nightly drink. That was when I was probably at my worst, when it was just such a ritual, such a nightly thing to do. The loop was always there, the pattern was always there. Fear of forever. A little bit like the whole being terrified of what life's like without alcohol. This whole thought of forever, it would run my blood cold. Firstly, it was never on my radar. It was never something I ever considered. Whenever I did think about making changes with my relationship with alcohol, it was always in the form of cutting down, cutting back, moderating, rules. It was never a forever thought, ever. But the truth is that whole mindset kept me stuck for so long. When I tried to moderate, it just gave me a whole load of things that I could continue to break, rules that I could continue to bend, and so I could keep being disappointed in myself. Telling yourself you're not that bad. I always thought I wasn't that bad. I certainly didn't feel or look like anybody that came across on the telly, if you like, of people that had alcohol problems. I wasn't hiding anything. I wasn't drinking in the day. I was a heavy drinker, yes, but I was no worse than anyone else. That's what I would tell myself. It was only after I took a break that I realised it wasn't really about how much I was drinking. It was about how it was making me feel and how it was impacting the next few days after I'd been drinking. The mental tug of war. When I was young, when I was in my 20s, 30s and early 40s, alcohol wasn't a focus. It was something I did. I drank. Sometimes it would get messy, weekends away, holidays, nights out, but it wasn't a focus. It's something everybody did. But once it became more of a frequent thing, moving from the weekends to like nightly, then it did start entering my head, and I would think about it way more than I wanted to. Not obsessively, but this is really, really common. We start thinking about alcohol. It takes up room in our heads rent-free. And it's just exhausting. Will I, won't I, when? It's just exhausting. That mental noise is probably one of the hardest things that I had. It was one of the biggest gains for me, was that mental noise quieting down. I'd go as far as to say it was the mental noise was harder for me to deal with than the physical after effects of the drinking. But that's just me. And finally, the quiet fear. So you know what? Deep down, I knew I wasn't addicted, but deep down, I knew to my core that I was on a very slippery slope. I didn't know how close I was to being in trouble with addiction, and it terrified me. I wasn't thriving. I wasn't living my best life. I was coasting. And the worst bit was knowing that I felt like this day in, day out, and I was doing it to myself. That was hard to swallow. I knew I wasn't at rock bottom. There was no huge drama, but I was slowly just losing myself to this nightly wine. I didn't know how to escape it. I was afraid of trying and succeeding, and I was afraid of trying and failing. All the while, my world was just getting smaller and smaller. But I knew something had to give. So if any of them sound familiar, then you might be a middle lane drinker too. You're not weak, you're not a failure, but you can start being aware. Being aware is how things change. Taking a short break from alcohol tells you a lot of stuff and tells you more than you think. It shows you how differently you can feel, even if you're afraid to start. When it's seeping into our day-to-day life and we're feeling crappy all of the time, we've got to start doing something, haven't we? Let me know if any of this relates.